Hi everybody, once again my name is Michelle Lainez. I have a catering company called Chef Michelle and Company. I've been in the culinary industry for about 18 years. I'm classically French trained. My first 10 years were spent in fine dining and then went into casual dining, farm to table, fork to table and all that good stuff. So the past 6 years I've been really into food justice and food accessibility and getting food into food deserts. I work with two main nonprofits. One of them is Hope Street Family Center in downtown Los Angeles. We provide services to low-income singular families in the 5-mile radius of Hope and 17th Street. And second is CLA, and CLA is a nonprofit as well, started by Michael Wu, and he puts, or our organization puts, farmers markets in food deserts as well. And and I buy from local farmers, and I try to help as much as I can, where I can, and really educate the community and also my fellow chefs and culinarians on how to change your imprint. I really feel that as chefs and as culinarians, we really have responsibility to get knowledge out to the community, and we're really able to change the way people eat and the way people see not only our food system, but the people behind the food system that's actually making it happen.
Hi guys, my name is Jessica Spear. I am part of Every Table. I am the head chef leading the culinary team. Our mission is to bring healthy, affordable meals, no matter who you are, where you are. We want everybody to have the same experience, and as we know, our world is having such a hard time eating right and being able to get organic and local produce and even know what to do with it. So what Every Table did, it grew out of our nonprofit called Grocery Ships, and Grocery Ships was kind of created for moms, single moms who didn't actually know how to cook or just needed that support system. So it's really based on just them getting together, having a support system, working together, bringing in local chefs and area people around to teach them about produce, teach them how to utilize it, and teaching them that not everything has to be expensive. So learning that, they came to our founder and said, hey, that's great, like we're learning a lot and this has been a huge focus, but we still have to go to work. We still have to feed our kids and then get them in the shower and then get them their homework. So we know how much time is limited when it comes to that. So we created Every Table. And Every Table it's considered fast food. They're grab-and-go style meals. There's hot and cold options for you. But basically you go in and it's a $4 bowl in our Hoover store that we have right now. And that's something that people can grab, their families can eat, they can heat it up, they can keep it for the next day. A lot of college students are able to afford healthier meals instead of going to McDonald's or Jack in the Box. So that's what Every Table is about. And we work with local farmers as well. Casey is actually one of our main distributors that he works with local people around us to kind of bring that to us, because we have a limited amount of resources we can use. And a lot of times people work with us because they want to be a part of that mission, whether it be Imperfect Produce or the farms that are here today that we're starting to work with. It's how to grow us and grow the farmers to make it more accessible to everybody. So we all kind of have the same mission. We're just all kind of doing our own to get to that mission. So any way we can work together is a big deal for us.
Hi, my name is Casey Kramer. I work for West Central Foods. We're based out of Norwalk, California, which is border Orange County in LA. We're a full-service food distribution company. We do produce, mainly produce, dairy, and dry goods. We started in 1969, and basically what we do is we work with the restaurants anywhere from Las Vegas down to the San Diego border up to about twice a week we'll go up to San Francisco. So we're delivering the restaurants there, but our main focus too is to try and bring in as much as we can from the state of California or local as well, to provide for our customers. Because we have that long reach that we do, I came in as a local buyer originally. I do sales now. I oversee the local department, but any of our trucks that are running from the border up to any of those areas, I have the reach to then pick up something from a farm and bring it back to us, so we can support farms that say can't get to a local farmers market for us, or a certain area that we can help to try and build them up and support them as well and bring their products to some customers that wouldn't know of them before.
Good morning. My name is David Weinstein. I work for Heath and Lejeune in downtown Los Angeles. I go back a really long time to a time when there was something called the alternative food system, which was a dream of a young generation of activists who imagined a world in which there were no issues of food access, and food was produced in a way that respected the earth and respected all life on the earth, and imagined that agriculture in harmony with the planet could feed all of the people on the planet. Working with Heath and Lejeune, we've built up good business serving stores and restaurants in the Southern California area. Heath and Lejeune's mission is to distribute organically grown fresh fruits and vegetables. We aggregate from farms all along the West Coast, primarily in Southern and Central California. And like I say, we distribute mostly in Southern California, but we also trade nationally and internationally. Thank you very much.
Great, so I'm hoping that Michelle and Jessica can speak a little about what you look for from your suppliers, like what types of produce, the quantities, what kind of like delivery that you need, communication methods, anything like that.
So when I was at the restaurants, it's different when you have your own catering company than working at a restaurant. At a restaurant, you're able to get delivery 6 to 7 days a week, and in doing so and working with small farmers, it's important to know that restaurants need their produce by 10 a.m. And I know that's difficult for a lot of small farmers because that's the time they're picking, or they're getting ready to go to market, or they're at market already, and the restaurant may just be a drop on the way or a drop on the way back, or there isn't a consistency or enough amount of people in that area that they're delivering to. But for me, what I've run into issues with buying from small farmers while at restaurants is delivery time and consistency of product, and the way the product arrives to the restaurant. Because when we buy from a smaller farm, we do pay a premium. The produce from a smaller farm is more expensive than, let's say, West Central Valley Specialty or whatever, and we're happy to pay it, and we will pay it, because we know that we have to, and that's fine. But when you're buying 40 pounds of tomatoes are in season, you get 40 pounds of cherry tomatoes, and it's all in one box. The weight of that box will crush the bottom 10% of those tomatoes. So now I have to make a tomato jam or a ketchup or something, and I can't use them in my beautiful salad or fish dish or whatever. So that type of thoughtfulness is really important. Or when peaches are in season, the same deal. You might have 10 or 20 peach trees, and that communication of how much you can actually produce per week. If you tell me you can only get me 24 pieces of peaches every week, fine, I'll buy 24 peaches. But if you're telling me you're going to get 24 and I get 5, then that's a problem. And that happens with a lot. I've seen that happen with a lot of smaller farms. And I understand crops, and my family, I'm Salvadoran, and my family has farms in El Salvador, so I get it. Sometimes things go well or not go well, and you don't have what you said you were going to have. Like, I get it. But there has to be a better way to communicate through email or text or a phone call to get, to know what's available. That's very important to me. But other than, I've been very lucky with the farmers that I've worked with, and everyone's been on it. It's just really being able to say, I can produce this much for you every week, and this is what I have, and then being able to deliver on that within, a good window of time, not during lunch, but definitely good window.
So we kind of have the same issues, but with every table, it's got to be a consistent product, and it's got to be consistent across the board. I can't take just 10 pounds. I need 50 cases a week or 100 cases a week. So bulk buying is huge for us. We also can't pay the premium because we're trying to give an affordable product to our customers. So as a local farm, if it's 3 times what I'm paying, it's hard for us to justify using that product because we just can't afford it. We then have to raise the price to the consumer, and the consumer is the one we're trying to make the affordable product for. And a lot of times small farms can only, they do a lot of little things, but not enough of one big thing. So for us, finding a farmer that can maybe, sketch out one piece of the farm that may be an acre or whatever it may be and say, hey, just like she said, if I'm going to get 20 pounds from you, I need to know I'm consistently going to get that. I need to know when I'm going to get it. Our deliveries have to be there before 5:30 because
AM.
AM.
Okay.
So we have to have our produce shipped there. I mean, we've met our people there at 2 a.m. to have the truck be there on time, because if we don't have that product, we can't pack a fresh product to then give it to our stores. So working with a bigger distributor might be a good idea for some of the farmers, if you can tag on to when West Central is coming, and then they can do that, because at least we know it's coming with the rest of our product, even if it's picked the day before. And communication is key. I strongly am loyal with my vendors, only because if it's somebody I know, when I call you, you're going to answer. When something goes wrong, you're going to tell me. And then we work through that solution together. Especially with farming, there's always something that happens, whether weather or it's LA people, traffic is crazy. We know things get missed. And as long as there's that communication, we then have time to kind of fix it on our end. So that's really big when I deal with my vendors.
Great. And if Casey and David could speak a little bit about you guys to keep customers like chefs like Jessica and Michelle happy, what kind of work?
Sorry.
You want to go first? Well, the main thing to keeping these people happy, like she said, was the big thing is being on time. As you've seen, both people have said that was one of their key issues. But also being on time, it's kind of redundant. We all kind of have the same sort of things. They're looking for the same consistency, the same as us. So, for example, with them, with farms we work with, there are some farms we contract and work with, we work with a farm, County Line. They're out in Thermal in the desert. They're about 20 acres right now, 25 acres. They are a farm where it's small enough that it's a small farm, but at the same time, I can offer their products to my customers. You can't say without a gap, because the weather this year has been, like nothing else. And more or less know that if they're going to grow beets for 4 months, I'm going to be able to get those beets for 4 months and be able to offer it to someone. Because what will happen is, if I get, say, Jessica wants to start using the beets, then I get 3 good weeks out of it, and then all of a sudden I have to supplement with another farm. Price is going to go up, quality is going to be different, and then we have to start pretty much all over again.
And Jessica will know.
No,
Everything, and we look at everything, and we see everything, and so when they switch up a farmer, we're like, this isn't the same beet.
And then when you show a product to a chef and you're like, this is what I'm selling you, this is my product, it better be that product every time, because then we have to go sell it to somebody else, to the owners, to our customers, and say, this is the product you're going to get. So when it comes in and it's not that, it's not you guys that are getting yelled at, it's the chefs that get yelled at, because why has quality gone down? So we have to explain that.
Yeah, you could have 2, say, gem lettuces next to each other, 2 different farms, different soil, whatever it is, but both 24 count, came in under the same number or SKU, say, for example, in the system, but you send it to a chef, you could put it in 2 unmarked boxes, and they'll know one versus the other. So consistency is a major player in that sort of thing.
And with us, it's more of I just need 50 cases of kale. Some products in my business, it's okay if they alter a little bit, because we know we don't need to make this $15, $20 salad, right? We're trying to make affordable. So we have more leeway to work with people, because we need that bulk, and we want to have that mission to help everybody. And it's going into a mix, right? So some things we're going into a mix, it's okay if things are altered. We just need to know about it in case questions are asked or there's a quality issue. But we probably have more leeway than restaurants and catering, because people are paying a premium for that. So.
A long time ago, I was hitchhiking through the Loire Valley in France. And And I got picked up by this gentleman who I think probably just took pity on my raggedy self. And he decided that what I needed right then was lunch. So we just stopped off at this old, broken down little place, wandered in, sat down, and the woman who was running the restaurant came out. There were no menus, and this woman and the gentleman that picked me up had a very pleasant conversation that went on for 5 or 10 minutes about what we would care to eat that day for lunch, based on what it was that she happened to have in the kitchen that day that had come into her from her suppliers, which were not wholesalers. They were folks growing and plants and raising animals in the vicinity of this restaurant. And after 5 or 10 minutes of very pleasant conversation, they had worked out what it was that we were going to have for lunch. And over the next couple of hours, various things sort of migrated from the kitchen onto our table, and we sort of ate them in a leisurely way with several bottles of wine and wandered out afterward entirely satisfied, having had an absolutely glorious experience. And I found out quite a bit later that this was actually a very famous 5-star Michelin-rated restaurant. Not that I could tell at age whatever it was that I was, ignorant American. But it was glorious and wonderful, and I remember it to this day. This is not the American food system, okay? No part of this is the American food system. This is not what you are dealing with. None of us here work that way. In America, we believe in consistency and uniformity and predictability and transparency, none of which were values in the restaurant that I had my lovely meal in. Your challenge as growers of whatever it is you grow is to magically, by some fantastic alchemy, transform the wonderful unpredictability of the natural world into the uniform, consistent, predictable, transparent commodities that we all wish to buy. Okay? This is your genius as growers, because there is nothing about the experience of growing anything that is consistent, uniform, predictable, or transparent. It is your genius to make this transformation. This is your job. Okay? I understand what I'm asking you. I understand that it is not reasonable. Okay? I respect the difficulty of what you do. Okay? And I don't wish to quarrel with you. But you have heard from 3 people, all of whom love you. Otherwise they would not be here. What they require: uniformity, consistency, transparency, predictability. That is what we require. It is a discipline. Okay? It is a discipline. Okay?
Okay, this is going to be a dialogue, okay, with the panelists and the audience. So if something's really bothering you,
Oh yeah, speak up. Yeah, heckle away.
I'm going to stand up. So instead of cases of say 1,000 cherry tomatoes,
Yes.
what if would it be at all beneficial if the chefs who were concerned about this thought, oh, what if I told them any kind of small tomatoes, so I had a medley of all tomatoes? What if the chefs in the American who are on board with this whole more sustainable food thing, they knew growing it would be more sustainable to
saying that it has to be, you know, a quarter of an inch by a quarter of an inch squared every time. What we're saying is, like, chefs understand that produce itself and anything food-wise is perfectly imperfect, and that's the beauty of it. What we're saying is if you're going to tell me that I'm going to get, you know, Huertas de Valle, who I totally love and adore, and I shop from them all the time, you know, and they do a really good job of communicating. They're like, I have carrot tomatoes for like X amount, and we know that, you know, they're going to be an Aram varietal, they're going to come in a rainbow of color in all shapes and sizes, and that's great. If you tell me what that story is and what it is that you're creating, us as chefs and servers can go ahead and retell that story to our guests and our people.
Right.
But if you're telling us that if we're not getting that story, that communication, that dialogue, then we can't do that. And it's not about perfect produce. You know, you have the soil, you have the seeds, you guys have the knowledge. You know, your stuff is going to be awesome. We live in California and we have sun all the time. You know, it's pretty amazing. You guys are really lucky.
Yeah, for the
You
last
know,
time.
really, really lucky. So, you know, perfectly imperfect is great for us. We just need to know what that is. You know, what those parameters are, so that we can educate our servers. You know, part of our job isn't just cooking food. It's taking, you know, produce that whatever it is, you know, and turning it into something else yummy, and not masking its flavors but enhancing it, and educating our service staff as well as our consumers or our clients what it is that they're having. And that begins at the farm, and that begins with our, you know, produce rep and everyone there down, so that we can do our job and do that as well. But, you know, communication is key, and letting us know. And if it's a small farm, like, I don't know if you guys know Puerto del Valle very well, but they also work with smaller other farmers. So when I needed big stuff for, like, let's say a big event, and they're like, well, I don't have that much. He's like, but my buddy over here does. Let me get you a sample, and if you like it, we'll partner up with them and we'll send you the product. You know, like maybe 3 smaller farmers coming together to support a restaurant, you know, or support, you know, a produce company might work for you guys. I know that's what they've done with me plenty of times when I have events, and it's worked out really well. You know, having the different smaller farms, you know, co-op together to sell the product.
I think the conversation we had when talking to Puerto de Ville was, you know, this is what we need from every table standpoint. This is the produce we're working with. And then from his standpoint is, this is what grows really well from us. What can you do with that? So we can create goals around the produce that's coming in as long as we have enough of it. And if we don't have enough of it, we just need to know how much, and then we can sub it with something from West Central or another farm. But I think the chefs who are motivated to work with you guys and to grow that small farming industry are willing to work around it, as long as we have that communication, we have that understanding of, this is what's going to happen. This is what I can grow. I know this, like, I would never want you guys to grow something that I know you're just going to have a really hard time and you're going to stress about, and it may work and it may not work. Like, if fennel is that main grower for you, let me create a dish around fennel, and then tell me how much you can grow of it, but I need to know that you can be able to back some of that bulk up. So if it is partnering with other farmers, we're okay with that. I'm okay with that, as long as we can say, tell the story, this is what we're getting and how much we're getting, and that way we don't have a gap. I think chefs have a, you know, when there's a gap and we could say, oh yeah, you're going to get 24 peaches, you didn't get 24 peaches.
We freak out.
Now it's extra work for us to fill that gap. Like, you guys obviously can't give it to us. You didn't come up with a solution to how to fill that gap. So we're running around when we have a business to run, or he's running around trying to figure that out. So just consistency on communication, I think, is big. But we're willing to work in many different ways.
And I'm going to interject really quickly here. At 3 o'clock, some of you may not know, but at 3 o'clock, those of you who can stay, we're having, especially the urban gardeners, we're having a networking session with Arthur, who had to go to something else, but he'll be back, to discuss how the different urban and community gardens here can collaborate together to do exactly what Jessica's talking about, and Michelle, because Puerto already has some people they supply, and maybe we'll supply some of you guys too, and to work together to be able to do that on a larger
There's another point when you guys pick stuff and you take it directly to a restaurant or to a caterer's kitchen, the requirements for how you deliver what you've harvested are much more informal. When you harvest and you deliver to a wholesale distributor, the requirements for how you deliver your produce become quite a bit more formal. You don't want me to go into that now, and I won't. But what you need to take away today is when you begin to think that you might like to work with wholesale distributors, it will be to your immense benefit to do the necessary research and consult with your distributor about how they want to receive your food. The requirements for the kind of boxes, the way things are packed, the way they're labeled are quite specific. And it would be a tragedy for you to bring something that you had worked so hard to grow only to find out that it wasn't packed properly or it wasn't labeled properly. And if you had asked beforehand, you would have been received much more successfully.
All right, I want to open it up to questions from the audience. So, go for it.
David, I
Yes, ma'am.
just want to make a comment. I loved your story,
Thank you.
and I wish the world was that way. I know at one point it was, and I totally agree with the whole American system of putting everything in a box, and everything has to be a smoothie or a shake or a bowl.
Yeah, man, don't knock the bowls.
But I'm also, I would say, a home chef.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a farmer, and so I understand impromptu quick meals. I understand the basics of cooking, and I think our system. So my first experience of trying to sell to a restaurant was very puzzling because I found out very quickly that the local restaurants around here only wanted bell peppers, carrots, onions, tomatoes, and I'm like, January there are no tomatoes. And they didn't know that. Well, why can't I have a bell pepper? Like they don't grow in January. So it was very challenging and very frustrating. Of course, there's very few farm-to-table restaurants. Yesterday, I went to one in Monrovia. They had a beautiful paragraph about being a farm-to-table restaurant and serving organic, local foods. Then they served beef cheeks on tater tots. And at first I was puzzled. I said, these look like store-bought tater tots. And I called the manager over. I said, you understand what you wrote over here in this one paragraph? This is why I came to eat at your restaurant, because I want to support people like you, to support small farmers, and understand that there is an audience that is looking for this type of creative chefs. And he gave me all kinds of excuses about how tater tots were okay when he clearly says it was all made from scratch, organic.
But on the flip side, we would love to be fully organic, but as we all know, organic's really expensive. So if you can find a way to make an organic product that's at a better value for us, we would completely go all organic.
Yeah, so that's hard.
That's all legislation.
Right. So it's it's
That's very
it's a
hard.
give and take, I think, for a lot of restaurateurs, because at the same time they still want the restaurant to make a profit so they can feed their family. So it's finding that balance. He shouldn't write a mission statement that he's not following.
It should not be a
That's the main story. But to our benefit, it isn't a bowl, but we already know Americans have a hard time with as much strain as we put on this country and people. It's hard to eat healthy. I'm a chef. I cook all the time, and it's hard for me to go home and sit there and cook all night. So I understand, like, so the bowl, it may be a grab-and-go concept, but we're trying to change that vision of what fast food is and make it really healthy and make it fresh. We make it every day and we send it out. So we're trying to kind of take the American way and bring in the local and the fresh product. We're kind of like trying to play with people's minds, right? So it looks like fast food, but you're really eating healthy. So it's kind of, you got to play with what we have going on.
Besides buying conventional versus organic produce, what else do you do to keep your food affordable?
What do we not do? We work a lot with Casey and just going through, what he has in stock, what he's pulling a lot of. I'm not going to use hazelnuts, so you look for a lesser nut, right? We're going to make things in-house. So a lot of the stuff we do, actually everything we do is made in-house. We don't outsource it right now. But there is something to be said for somebody who can clean your kale, right? You're saving labor. As long as my labor's low, I can spend a little more money on food. And it's just utilizing a carrot, right? There's 1,000,001 ways you can use a carrot. It's just how do you do that? And it's the 1,000,000 ways to do it healthy, whether it's pickling or roasting or sous vide. You have to utilize the products you have and when they're in season, when you can use them. And it's just kind of working that P-mix, so that menu mix of what works and what doesn't. Some may be a little higher end, some may be a little lower end, but altogether that main cost is maintained.
Oh, and I just have a follow-up question. So earlier you mentioned that if you have a lot of fennel available to one of your farms or distributor, it'll put added into the menu. But oftentimes what I've seen is that some communities are not familiar with fennel. And so
I just threw that out.
oh, okay. Well, it's just
Yeah.
but going back to that, it's how do you incorporate unfamiliar ingredients or produce in communities where they're unfamiliar?
This conversation came up the other day, and we're coming up with new bowls and stuff for some of our locations that we're opening. And one of our associates that we had was like, I probably wouldn't eat it because I'm not familiar with those spices and those flavors. But at the same time, that's our job, and I think as farmers, your job to make them taste those flavors. You might get some pushback, but that's our job to push the envelope and say, hey, just because you're Latino doesn't mean you eat Latino food all the time. I found out my employees have never had banana pudding before. So I am in a total culture shock of, they're going to eat banana pudding before this week's over with. But it's like pushing the envelope and getting people to try new things. And if, maybe your whole crop isn't fennel, but kind of put it into a farmer's market, the CSA boxes. It's a good way to throw in ingredients that people may not have tried. They're going to buy that CSA box. So if you do like one thing that may be different, that's going to slowly but surely get people to understand that there's different ways they can use it. Putting in recipe cards to CSA boxes and saying, hey, you may never have had fennel, but this is and make sure it's quick and easy. Don't make it some long out process where they don't want to mess with fennel anymore. So let them taste the flavor of fennel, make it quick and easy. Don't do your whole box as something unconventional. Just do that one thing. And slowly, by all of us working together, you hope that everybody one day knows what fennel and banana pudding tastes like. So, just saying.
Well, it's kind of like that with sunchokes right now. They've become, a lot more popular. A lot of people don't know what they are, but you can use it in the same way you use a potato. So if you're going to do anything like that and introduce someone new to something like, if you just say sunchoke, like, no, well, how about try some of this mash, potato or something, whatever you think it is. But, just introducing familiar items or familiar ideas with someone the first time to just get an idea of what that flavor profile is like. And then usually you can branch out from there.
My question is kind of based on just actually it's more of a statement of what I've seen in terms of I'm a small organic grower.
Do you grow fennel?
I have.
Does it grow well?
It actually does grow quite well. Yeah. But the thing is that what I've noticed in my experience, especially when it's going to go to new restaurants, cold calling people up, hey, you guys don't take this, right? They say, yeah, I need to go and behind their kitchen, open the drawers, I need to go inside of their walk-ins. And I noticed a lot of the produce that they might have there is not good quality. And I wonder,
awesome. Tell me what that restaurant is.
And they'll say, hey, your price point's too high. But I'm like, okay, what you just pulled me here from Cisco, how much of that is actually going to use? Because it's already been bad. So therefore, you are almost paying the exact same thing as what I'm giving to you per pound. You're just paying for the weight, but you're not paying for
And it
it.
goes back to education.
I was going to say education.
All about education.
So that's kind of what I'm kind of getting at. Like,
People just assume Cisco, they're going to pay a lower price, but they're not thinking about how it comes in, how it's packed, what the costs are to get that truck there.
Right.
They're not thinking about any of that, and it's all education.
flavor, I mean, there's tons of things.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's number one. So.
right.
There's tons of things that kind of go together.
And that goes back to our culture anyways. They're always trying to make a shortcut. They're always trying to make things cheaper. And if you just do things the right way the first time, I don't know how many times I've had mentors tell me that. Just do it right the first time, and you'll get a better end result.
And get them to try it. Like, just get someone to eat it. Just here's the, you know what, here it is. I don't, no cold calling, just, yeah, and they'll, a lot of times, it's.
Yeah, believe me,
And unfortunately, a lot of the majority is like that, and we apologize for that. We don't want that to be the
But yeah, that's,
culture.
and then kind of touching also on the point, I'm a small guy. You know, I mean, there's, in this room, there's, and outside of this,
How many farmers do we have? Can I see hands?
I mean, I have tomatoes in my yard, but they're not doing so well.
but I'd just like to say, like, a lot of times it's, and I know I'm actually going through this at this point right now. I luckily just was able to figure out a way to get rid of stuff, but they're like, yo, Justin, we want red Russian kale. Cool, I'm gonna make you red Russian kale.
Right.
I give you all these beautiful rolls, and then it's like, no, we don't need it now.
Yep.
So now it's like, okay, so that whole thing.
I think the Better
especially
Business Bureau, there should be a
trying
Better
to-
Chef Bureau. Like, don't
Yeah. But it's like, okay, so now it's like, okay, what, so a lot of us here, it's like, we're rolling dice when you guys ask for certain things and you're not gonna come through, because now I've just given up space
Yeah.
that I could have easily grown something that I know would have sold.
And that's when you talk to a chef, always talk about volume. Chef, how much are you going through? Can you guarantee me that, chef, you're going to buy this? If you're not going to buy this, I can't do that. I'll guarantee this for 2 or 3 weeks, and if you can't buy or sustain it, I'm not going to work with you anymore. Like, there has to be a give and take between farmer and chef.
I completely get that. And all those questions are asked, believe me. You know what I mean? I'm giving up space here. I'm giving up, quote unquote, money, if you want to look at it.
Exactly.
So the thing is that I'm now giving all this up, even that one time it happens, I'm taking a major hit.
And that's really sad.
You know, and so, like I said, I was able to figure out ways to make it work. But at the same time, that is a gamble. And a lot of times, I know just different farmers I've spoken to, it's like, I wish that there could be a more of an ebb and flow. Because at this point now, it's like, I call up a chef, actually I texted, this is what I got. You want it? Yeah, no. Yeah, Justin, give me X of this, give me X of that, give me X of this. Let this chef say, like, nah, maybe not this week, maybe not that week. Okay, cool, we'll wait till the next week. But that's the only way, and a lot of times with my chefs that I can actually deal, because it's like, there's a,
So like, so kind of why we're talking to Horts of DeVille, right? They're doing their community, they're doing this part of it. So if we can, like, get this little niche that's just one thing grown for us, we want to help support everything else that he's doing. So we're saying, yes, this is the volume we're doing. Just tell us what you can grow for us to help you support this. So that's not something you see all the time. That's something we're able to do because of our business. But if you can find more people like that are willing to let you run your thing and do those fun things, and just like we were talking in the car, like, grow the damn onion, grow the carrot. You know it grows well. You know everybody can use it. Grow that, and then do your other stuff on the side. But maybe make those things kind of like your bulk selling option.
You know what you could do too? There's that farm. You ever heard of Masamoto? The guy, he does peaches up there. He does farm shares. So he's gotten, I don't know how not a lot of people do that. I don't know if you've heard of that, but he's doing that. Yeah, so he, does the shares, but on a smaller level. See, we're in LA, which is a little bit of a different region than here. The farmers market on Wednesday that, like, say we go to, we see, like, these are half people you see on cooking channels, all that sort of stuff. So it's a lot easier for someone like you to go in and, with those kind of people that are going to change their menu daily or every other day, or, you say, look, I got a lot of this, I want to run a special, and first thing chef says is, that's awesome, I'd love to, work with that sort of thing. A lot of it too is networking with the right, demographics of what you're trying to sell, and targeting that
Most of
sort
the stuff that I sell personally all comes off of market research. I do run a lot of different farmers markets, so I'm constantly throwing stuff out there. Here's a little filler here, here's a little filler there. What's biting? What are the people buying? Because ultimately that's what's going to translate to what the chefs are going to get or want to start cooking. I mean, to a certain degree, right? So yeah, there is a lot of market research on this. So I know what it is that can generate that will sell.
All right.
You know, that's a problem. The problem is just when it's like, hey, try that, and then you come up empty-handed. It's like, I have no market research here. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. I want to get rid of it.
Yeah, pickle it.
So, I just want to make a comment. There are very few chefs, possibly like you guys, who are willing to buy local produce and be creative with the produce that's available seasonally. There's a very limited number of chefs like you guys. There's also a very limited number of farmers like us. So what I see as a solution maybe is that somebody needs to create some kind of a network where everybody is on there so it's easier. It's a big challenge for us to grow the food and then market it as well. And for you as well, you don't know about all the little small urban farmers. It would be very difficult for you to find all these little niche farmers that are doing very
That's what I got him for.
quality.
I just got a text right now of a guy's avails list up in Fresno while I'm sitting here. You know, he's telling me what he's got.
But what I think is, like, if there was a central, website or a hub that actually connects.
Exactly.
Can you tell me more?
And
This is the purpose, this is the major purpose of this conference, is to begin this step.
Right.
So I hope you two will definitely stay for the last session. I don't know if you can, but we'll be in touch. But definitely, this is a major goal we want to have.
Do you have a question?
Well, I just have a general comment to make, just from my experiences. I'm getting managed urban farming project in the area. I've been doing it formally for 13 years, and informally I grew up as a child of farm workers. So I've been farm working since. So, just to talk a little bit about some of your experiences, if you guys are on the other side of it, as far as receiving product from, growers either, less than an acre or more than 10 acres. So, my observations.
Stand up there so the mic will pick you up.
I can speak louder then.
Okay.
That way I can just.
Okay,
I don't wanna go there. And so what I want to say is that if you agree with a grower to have product at a certain time and they don't deliver it, it's not about farmers or small farmers. It's just get another grower. Like, find somebody else because they're not reliable. I mean, you know what I mean? I understand that, like, something's happening, but if you're continuously getting that situation, then
It
it's
usually
just like a
happens
chef.
once.
What, excuse me?
It usually happens once. If we ask for product and we need it and they don't give it to us, we're always
But
looking.
just like any other industry, if
Right.
they don't meet your demands, there's plenty of people that are growing stuff that you give them a shot, and see if they produce for you. Because that's what it matters. It matters what you get in your kitchen, what it matters what you get in the counters, and also the other thing I want to mention is working with chefs and things like that. You're in the kitchen, you're asking what they're cooking. I'm telling you what's growing, what's possible, because based on the parameters that we work under, like, all right, we have a unheated hoop house, we can maybe get summer squash. We had summer squash through January. We had tomatoes up until last week that overwintered because we had a certain variety that did that.
Right.
So, but that's communication. So,
Right, that's what I'm talking about, like talking to Arthur. Arthur tells me, we're kind of figuring out what we can do, and Arthur's like, this is what I do, this is what grows well for me, this is what goes good in our soil. And then we take that and say, what can we create for Arthur? So it's definitely back and
challenge
forth.
for this area is the fact that this area is established more as a large-scale citrus farming operation area, and it didn't have the benefit of small-scale agricultural development as in other parts of the United States, like the Midwest or the East Coast, where they're smaller holdings. So agriculture in California, I guess the Californianos, they had their system in Spanish, but it was, it went from, once it was established as a state, it became kind of a speculative property for East Coasters to basically plant a bunch of oranges to send back. So as far as a native kind of a community where we could kind of be focused on growing things and what would be considered an agricultural balanced way or something like that. There's not that here, so it's more of a modern development that this is kind of being created here. So I've been fortunate to be part of certain networks in the Midwest, like the Midwestern Organic Growers Conference, where growers come together and they share ideas, they share packaging strategies, ways of cutting things or seeding things, because we all realize as growers, small growers, that there's a big pie out there, and if we share information, and we still got to do the work. Quite frankly, so I can tell you whatever, but are you going to do the work?
Okay, so we're to have a delicious lunch plan at the farms with their produce, and they also are doing some cutting edge things in the greenhouse. Lynn here is going to give us a tour. So I was thinking, I'm sorry I have to cut it off now. I should have given you one question warning, but we don't have the time. So they are over at 831 East Belmont Street, and you continue down Euclid and then go over on Mission East and down. How many people know how to get to the Puerto Gardens? Raise your hands. Okay, so people maybe try to carpool with each other, and we'll go to the gardens. Then we'll come back here. The next speaker, when we get back at 2, is going to be Andy Schrader, who is a real successful pusher of Los Angeles City Council into environmental directions. And he's going to speak on how to affect City Hall and also how to get City Hall to do stuff to let you do what you want in your urban gardens against zoning. So that's next.